this edition of Storm Watch, we'll talk about some more light rainfall scattered about parts of the country this morning, and maybe the development, too, of some stronger thunderstorms this afternoon, especially in Florida and over parts of the southeast. But right now, it's time for a look at our tropical update. We'll show you what's been going on and what is happening at the present time. The big view, we're going to show you exactly what's going on as we look at the entire Atlantic basin, from the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, across the mid-Atlantic, and all the way over towards the Gulf, or right over towards the coast of Africa. Now, during the last couple of days, we've been pinpointing this area right in through here. And again, it's been a very, very weak low pressure system. Again, a little bit of a circulation, and it's been persistent for the last few days. And every once in a while, when you see low pressures persisting for a few days, sometimes they take on tropical characteristics. For that to happen, pressures would have to fall. You'd have to see more thunderstorms developing around the center of circulation, and that just is not happening. For a while, it looked like we were looking at a cluster of storms trying to organize again, but not really near the center of circulation at all, and now they seem to be fading away. So as of right now, if anything would develop over the Gulf of Mexico, we are not projecting that. But if it would be very slow to come by, and it would not bother us at all for this upcoming weekend. What else is going on? We'll check on the Caribbean. Looking at a weak wave right here beginning to move through the Caribbean right now, right towards the northern islands. Again, getting sheared apart. We're looking at some stronger west-and-southwesterly winds. No organization is expected with this system as we look at the upcoming weekend either. And farther on towards the east, first of all, you can see that wave again beginning to press its way on towards the west. The intertropical convergence zone has been suppressed well down to the south, and you can see clusters of showers and storms. Here's another batch right in through there. But once again, nothing is organizing, not anytime soon. And off the coast of Africa, we're getting real close now to the Cape Verde season. During the last few days, we've been watching some of these stronger waves coming off the coast well down to the south. Now we're picking up some of these waves a little bit farther to the north, closer to the Cape Verde Islands. And this is what you would normally expect for this time of the year or beyond, to see these tropical waves come off the coast farther northbound near the Cape Verde Islands, and sometimes they make it all the way across the Atlantic basin and turn into tropical depressions, storms, sometimes hurricanes. So right now, very, very quiet across the Atlantic, but keep in mind 75% of historical hurricanes that have hit and made landfall in the United States have occurred after this weekend. So again, we've got a long ways to go in the tropical season, a long ways to go. Let's take a look at what's happening over the eastern Pacific right now. We have a brand new tropical storm Frank, the 2 o'clock advisory, Pacific Daylight Time, 23.1 degrees north, 112.4 degrees west, or about 115 miles south of Cabo San Lazaro, Mexico. There you go. I thought it was San Lucas there for a minute, but top sustained winds now 40 miles per hour. Minimal tropical storm moving north at 13 miles per hour, hugging the coastline right now, and estimated pressures at about 1,003 millibars. For the southern tip of Baja California, there's a chance of some very, very heavy rainfall that could induce some mudslides, some flooding for sure. This is normally a very dry part of Baja California, and currently we do have some advisories out, and you can see we are definitely looking at some tropical storm watches and warnings right now as, again, Frank continues to move its way northbound. It's going to be inducing some more heavy rainfall there. What does Frank look like as we look at the satellite picture? Well, there it is. Again, it looks like a healthy system right now. You don't see an eye or anything, so we're looking at a terribly big system at the present time. But we do have a tropical storm, a minimal tropical storm, moving northbound and heading right into the central or the central parts of the Baja California region, and that will be inducing some heavy amounts of rainfall. Believe it or not, we are still tracking Tropical Depression Estelle. Take a look at this track, getting all the way over to here. This is a look at the string of pearls. Right now it's at 22.5 north, 146.9 west, or about 550 miles east-northeast of Hilo, Hawaii. Top sustained winds barely holding on to 30 miles per hour. West-northwesterly bound at 10 miles per hour. Pressure is at 1,010 millibars. What's this going to mean for Hawaii? Well, possibly with some of the trade winds coming in from the north and northeast, enhancing some showers a little bit, but right now this thing is really falling apart. We're going to have your national forecast and much more coming up in a couple of minutes.
Nothing changes faster than the weather, but we're running a close second. Stay informed with Weather Center all day today and every day.
Is IAMS good for life? Well, research suggests cats can lower your blood pressure and help their owners live longer,
A good Saturday morning to you. It's time now for Storm Watch. And it looks as if it could be a fairly active afternoon for some of us, as there will be a chance for some hefty thunderstorms. And we'll say more about that coming up in just a moment. Right now, though, let's check out the tropics. And as we check out the tropical update, we first of all look at the latest satellite imagery. And we do have some tropical waves that continue to work their way across the Atlantic basin. And we have some disturbed weather, too, as we head over towards the Gulf of Mexico. On closer inspection, we've had this rather broad, rather diffuse area of low pressure that continues to kind of mill around the Gulf of Mexico at this time. Rather poorly organized, but it continues to produce some scattered showers and thunderstorms, and they've been the most numerous just off the Florida Panhandle. Some heavier showers and thunderstorms there. Now, as far as development is concerned, probably not too likely because pressures remain rather high throughout most of the Gulf of Mexico. And more importantly, too, if any development were to take place, it's going to be a very, very slow process throughout this region. But if you're traveling, maybe on vacation, maybe planning a little Caribbean cruise, looks really, really nice right now. From Cuba through Jamaica, Hispaniola, very quiet. Lots of sunshine, too, around Puerto Rico. But just north and east of Puerto Rico, we've had a little disturbed region right here. Some showers and thunder showers in progress. Not really expecting any development here either, though, because this whole region is undergoing some wind shear, so conditions are not looking too favorable for development. A little farther towards the east, we pick up a few more tropical waves, generally drifting off towards the west. Our next one, though, is just getting ready now to come in towards the Lesser Antilles. And we think that throughout the weekend, you'll start to see increasing clouds and probably a little bit better chance of seeing some rains, especially for the southern islands, right around Trinidad and Tobago. Probably the most impressive feature for the Atlantic Basin, though, has been this tropical wave, which is now just to the west of the Cape Verde Islands. Here's the Cape Verde Islands. This is the African shoreline. And again, just west of the Cape Verdes, we start to see this little twisting motion, indicating an upper level low, or at least some low pressure system in association with this tropical wave. So this is certainly an area that does bear some watching. And just to the east of that, another big blob of convection, as yet again another tropical wave continues to pull off the coast. Both of these drifting towards the west at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. We'll be watching these closely throughout the weekend period. Meanwhile, it's Tropical Storm Frank that we're watching in the eastern Pacific. Right now, it is about 40 miles per hour, at least the maximum winds up to 40 miles per hour, and it continues to pull off towards the north. Now, currently we still have tropical storm warnings in effect for parts of the western coastline here of Baja California. And our biggest concern with this system is that it will likely drop some very heavy amounts of rain. It may not be uncommon to see rainfall amounts ranging between 3 and 6 inches for parts of Baja California. So with the heavy rain coming down, there is that likelihood for some mudslides and perhaps some localized flooding. So that's a big concern that we'll have over the weekend over portions of Baja California. Here's the latest satellite imagery of Frank. Again, it continues to work its way towards the north and will likely skim the coastline very, very shortly. Now, a little bit farther, though, towards the west, we pick up tropical depression Estelle. This one barely holding its own, up to about 30 miles per hour. It continues to swirl and churn up the waters across the Pacific, but it poses no major threat to any land areas. And as we head over towards the western Pacific, we have Tropical Storm Penny. This one cut right across Luzon, right across the Philippines. It's now emerging over the South China Sea, and that will eventually continue to pull towards the west. And unfortunately, it could bring another round of very heavy rain and some flooding problems to portions of China. Stateside, the biggest area of concern has been this trough of low pressure that's been kind of persistent in the last few days. It's still producing some clouds and some scattered showers for the Great Lakes down towards the Ohio Valley. And it will likely produce maybe some hefty thunderstorms a little bit later on today for portions of the southeast. Stay tuned. We'll check out current weather from coast to coast and your forecast coming up next on Weather Center.
Nothing changes faster than the weather, but we're running a close second. Stay informed with Weather Center all day today and every day.
Hey, what's this stuff?
I'm not going there! This crummy stuff isn't gonna cut it with me! No way!
At your Sherwin-Williams store, you'll get the good stuff at great prices. Now through Sunday, save an extra 10% off already low sale prices on inquiry.
Today during Storm Watch, we've been telling you about heavy rain and flooding potential out there. Also, a few reports of severe weather. We do now have a tornado warning that's in effect for Marion County in north central Florida. A Doppler indicated possible tornado. We'll take a look at that on radar coming up in just a couple of minutes, but we want to start this Storm Watch with your tropical update. And we have a tropical storm, of course, Tropical Storm Frank to tell you about. That's in the Pacific. We'll get to it in a moment. We'll work our way from the Atlantic on westward. Starting with the upper level winds, and one thing that we look for here is easterly winds or else high pressure in the upper atmosphere, and that's a favorable environment for tropical development. And actually we have easterly winds almost all the way across the Atlantic into the Caribbean, and then we have high pressure over the Gulf of Mexico. So you would think everything's favorable. Do we have something developing? Well, actually things are very quiet, and you can kind of see that, basically clear skies. Let's go a little bit closer, and we'll pinpoint a few little tiny things. One is an area of low pressure that has been kind of sitting out here over the northern Gulf of Mexico. That started to move farther north, is expected to move inland, at which point it would not stand the chance of developing. Tropical systems only develop over warm water, so once it moves inland, it's gone. What it will do, though, is produce a lot more rain for us here in the southeast. Florida, look at the big thunderstorms that have built up today, into Alabama too, so that's kind of helping to bring the thunder showers into the southeast, and we'll get a closer look at those coming up. Otherwise, the Gulf is quiet. The Caribbean is very, very quiet. Clear skies here. Only a few little thunderstorms developing over land. One over Puerto Rico looks like it's already blown up and diminished. And then we have some clouds over the Lesser Antilles. Not anything real big here. As you take it out a little bit farther east of South America along our intertropical convergence zone, trade winds come together and lift the air, and it condenses. We get clouds, but at this point we really don't have much in the way of showers or thunder showers. But this new tropical wave that's just come off the coast of Africa looks pretty impressive, doesn't it? Well, it's one that we'll watch as it heads to the west. Again, it would have to kind of hold together for a while longer before it became of any concern. But we do remind you that this is the time of year when it gets a little more active. August and September especially. If you have any interest along the coastline into the Caribbean, you should be watching the tropics pretty closely. August 11th through the 20th, historically, you can see these are all the points of origin of tropical storms or hurricanes, all the way back since 1886. And It's a lot more active now than it was in July, and 75% of hurricanes, at this point, develop after this time of year. So, yeah, this is the time to watch it. Into the Pacific, we have Tropical Storm Frank. This is the latest advisory as of 2 o'clock Pacific time. Winds are the same, 40 miles per hour. The center has moved slightly, 25.0 north, 113.0 west. That's where the center is. And that's about 40 miles west-northwest of Cabo San Lazaro, Mexico. It continues to move to the north at 12 miles per hour, maybe slightly west of north. It is forecast to kind of brush the coastline here of the Baja and produce, of course, hurricane force winds. Tropical storm force winds. Tropical storm warnings are in effect. The biggest threat, though, with this kind of a tropical storm that's not that strong would be the heavy rain, and we do anticipate maybe 3 to 6 inches of rain and some serious flooding problems here. As we start getting reports back, we'll tell you what's going on here, but again, very heavy rain for now. Through the next about 12 hours, it should continue moving north, and then by this time tomorrow, it should actually begin to weaken as it moves over colder waters and should be moving more northwestward. And by the way, it may bring a little more moisture into the southwest U.S., and we may see a few more showers, maybe even into California. And we still have Tropical Depression Estelle. This has had a long history here. You can see the path it has taken. This is the final advisory as it is dissipating. Winds are now only 30 miles per hour. It's well north of the Hawaiian Islands, and you can't really even distinguish a circulation like you could yesterday. All right, back to the U.S. Again, scatter showers and thunder showers through the west, and then from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to the Great Lakes. Pretty numerous thunderstorms really through the southeast. I want to take you into Florida here and show you what's going on. We've had some huge thunderstorms in Suwannee County. Those have diminished. And north of Tampa, a lot of them have died out, so we have a big mass of rain. But with this cell here in Marion County, you do have a tornado warning that's in effect, and that's east of Ocala. The Doppler indicated this possible tornado southeast of Silver Springs. It's moving northeast at 10 miles per hour. So if you're your radar and show you where those storms are heading next. Good evening. Welcome to Storm Watch. I'm Kim Perez. In this part of Storm Watch, we're going to start out with the tropical update. Then we'll hit some of the hot spots around the U.S. tonight. Well, looking at our upper level winds, well, first let's pick out a couple of features, and we'll try to let you know why we look at our upper level winds. For one, for tropical development, we need an anticyclone aloft or some sort of ridging, and weak winds too aloft. And so we look at the upper level winds, we pick out those features. Well, here's an anticyclone, okay? But sure, you know, this a high aloft, but at the surface we have nothing going on. So nothing to watch here in the Gulf of Mexico. Farther east, we have our upper level trough, so that's not conducive to any kind of tropical development here in the western Atlantic. In the Caribbean, we have some westerly or easterly winds here coming in over the area, but there's nothing at the surface for anything to happen. Actually, winds are probably a little bit more on the strong side here anyway. We need these weak easterly winds, which we're seeing here over the Atlantic. The reason we want them weak is because if thunderstorms do develop, we want them weak for tropical storm to develop, that is, or hurricane, is that if you have very strong winds aloft, it shears off the tops of the thunderstorms. So for tropical development, you need very weak wind shear, and you also want more easterly winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Westerly winds would tend to shear the storm apart also. So looking at the overall picture here, quiet. This weekend we should squeak by without any problems at all. So if you are planning on heading to the beaches, looks pretty good. You don't have to worry too much about the tropics. We were watching an area that's right now over the Florida Panhandle. It was actually a low center at the surface over the Gulf of Mexico. It moved inland and actually weakened, and it's even hard to find at this point. So it was something we were keeping an eye on. Nothing happened. It is inland, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. Now it's going to cause some rain in through Alabama. And we're actually seeing some of that heavy rain and thunderstorms move through Atlanta. And then through the Caribbean, quiet. We have one wave that is moving through Central America, through Nicaragua. That's going to produce some heavy rainfall, but it's interacting with land, so we don't have to worry about that. And then we have one more tropical wave here coming through the Windward and Leeward Islands, and that will probably move into the Caribbean. And we'll keep an eye on that one as it does. But the winds are pretty strong, as you can see, from the southwest to the northeast. So that is a shearing effect here also. So even if this wave does move eastward and try to develop, the upper level winds are not favorable in that area either. Now in the Atlantic, at this part of it anyway, nothing happening. Now as you head farther east off the African coast, we have one wave that has just moved off here, and this looks pretty impressive. It's something we'll keep an eye on as it has rolled off the coast. And here is another wave that has come off the coast, and it is showing some signs of maybe it has a possibility of developing, and we'll keep an eye on this wave. It's still several days away from the islands. We got plenty of time to watch this wave. It is showing some sort of a twist in there, even though it's not showing a lot of convection with a lot of mid-clouds, but it's something we'll keep an eye on for sure in the next couple of days. And then look at the mess that'll be coming off of Africa here after this one. Look at this, another one. So definitely keeping it busy in the eastern Atlantic, although we really don't have any tropical storms or hurricanes to speak of yet. But as you do notice, we get into mid-August, we really increase the number of tropical storms and hurricanes. As a matter of fact, 75%, I believe, of the landfalling hurricanes around the U.S. have occurred after August 6th. So we really increase our chances climatologically here. As you can see, we really increase the number of storms in the Atlantic basin. So definitely this is the time to get prepared. Okay? All right, let's head to the Pacific. Tropical Storm Frank. Winds are at 40, moving north-northwest now at 15 miles per hour, and it is expected to make landfall in the next couple of hours here, very close to land at this point, and we're expecting 5 to 8 inches of rainfall. Winds really not the big deal here. It'll be the heavy rain, the possibility of mudslides too, especially on the western slopes here. And the biggest threat to the U.S. is going to be what happens with that moisture. Well, it is already starting to track into southern Arizona and into California, and that is going to be the problem in the next couple of days. We could see some heavy rainfall and thunderstorms develop in those areas. All right, but we do expect it to make landfall and begin to dissipate here in the next 12 to 36 hours as it interacts with land. Still looking at the monsoon here in the west and looking at the southeast. Looking at thunderstorms continuing tonight through Atlanta, picking up over about an inch, 1.2 inches of rain in Hartsfield. And for sure, the northern suburbs getting clocked as we had reports of power lines and trees down in western Marietta this evening. No severe thunderstorm warnings at this time, but we will take a look at more radars coming up next on Weather Center. Stay with us.
Clear skies cover the northeast while rain is on tap farther south. Find out if showers will put a damper on your weekend plans. Watch Weather Center after your local forecast.
Everyone enjoys listening to birds, and now you can bring those happy sounds indoors with the official National Audubon Society Singing Bird Clock. At 12 o'clock, you'll hear the haunting call of the owl.